Snipers, you have to see what's happening to the Bitcoin price this Thursday. As not much is happening on the micro time frames, but on the macro time frames, so much is happening and traditional markets just closed. So I had to get this video update out to you guys because there are so many puzzle pieces. Like with today's daily candle, we are fully above the 50-day moving average at 40,000 US dollars. And that has happened and has been an immediate effect of seeing institutional buy volume come in yesterday. And this was during Jerome Powell's Fed's meeting. And what's also interesting is the most correlated asset and most important four-dimensional revolving part that we monitor here on the Snipers channel, the S&P 500, if we look at what's happening to it, as we speak, it is breaking out. And no matter where you draw this resistance level, there is a clear breakout of this recent downtrend. And this downtrend is what has held Bitcoin down from seeing upside over the last few months. And unless you're bearish on the S&P 500, there is a very clear break of a major resistance with today's daily candle closing here in 15 minutes. This is the E-mini futures contract. This tells us that the strongest revolving part is showing favor of Bitcoin seeing upside. And what's also interesting is for those that were tuned into our monthly candle analysis, we determined Bitcoin was the stronger asset against the S&P 500 over January and February. And so why would that not be the case in March? And that's a very interesting puzzle piece, because if that's the case and that we expect Bitcoin to be stronger than the S&P 500 in March, just like it was in February and January, well, the S&P 500 is above its monthly open right now, and Bitcoin has yet to make that move. The monthly open sits at 43,000 US dollars. And there's a reason Bitcoin has yet to make this move, because we know here on the Snipers channel, there's this pocket of volume between 44,800, we can call it the $45,000 level, and 41,950, which is currently acting as our resistance, that if we can get price action back inside of this area, it would be the 5th time coming inside of this range. And you knock on a door 5 times, especially with the S&P 500 being the favor of Bitcoin. We look at gold starting to cool down as US oil has started to cool down, and that was a direct effect of the DXY cooling down exactly as predicted at a resistance level. The puzzle pieces are shifting back towards the favor of the bulls. The charts are extremely bullish for the S&P 500 right now. The leading indicator that we've been watching here for Bitcoin, why doesn't Bitcoin have the chance of breaking above 45,000 US dollars? And if that's the case, we go back to the basics and we look at the target of this, whatever you want to call symmetrical triangle, maybe an ascending triangle. The point is, there is some market structure here with higher lows forming and clear institutional buy volume coming in, a lot greater and significant than the sell pressure that we've recently seen. And so with that on the table, higher lows on the table, a weekly bullish divergence on the RSI, why can't we make the case right now that Bitcoin in the macro potentially could have bottomed here to see some upside back above the 50-week and 20-week moving average towards the midpoint of this range to maybe test the $55,000 to, let's say, $60,000 level, which would put us in this market structure and testing a major resistance. And once again, we've seen this already happen to Bitcoin against the Russian ruble. And so why can't we just look at this chart here with Bitcoin making new all-time highs with last week's candle for the Bitcoin to Russian ruble chart? Why isn't this on the table for Bitcoin against the USDT pairing with all of the fundamentals coming back in the favor of Bitcoin? Is this a preview of the future? I'm not saying it is here, but what I am saying is the puzzle pieces are coming into the favor of Bitcoin. That was the main point of this video. And so just to wrap up this analysis, Snipers, I want to be quick. Bitcoin hasn't moved away from the range from our last video. We literally were recording as it pumped up to 41,950, has yet to get even higher than that while we were on that video. And so we could just make the case so far on the micro time frames. We've got this sort of ascending triangle formation, and the revolving parts like the S&P 500 already tested its monthly open. Why wouldn't Bitcoin at least break out from this ascending triangle in the immediate short term to see if price target around $44,000? It comes to test 44,800 again, maybe it has another cup of coffee and then goes on its merry way. So, and when it comes to downside, what I'll say is based on the 6-hour chart, it looks like this candle is important. And this candle is the bullish continuation candle that we got after they cleared the order books with the wick. And so I would say the candle low here at 39,300 is very important as well. So those are the two things we want to monitor here for Bitcoin. 39,300 being a major support level, 41,950 also being the major resistance. If we can break 41,950, I think that that's going to have to be the rally that we need for Bitcoin to move back into new all-time highs. That would just be the earliest confirmation we could get. But at this point, with the momentum we're seeing with outside revolving parts like the S&P 500 and such, if we see price action come back to this $39,300 level, we could even say the $40,000 level, but really at $39,300 level, if we see price action back there, then that could potentially take a downside scenario to Bitcoin seeing another test of the range below 38,000 on the table. But at this point, we cannot put that on the table. I think that the downside scenario at this point in the immediate short term, the next 24 hours, is highly unlikely compared to the upside scenario based on the revolving parts. So on-chain analytics didn't tell us much. I think $500 million Bitcoin, around 400 million Bitcoin, or $400 million US dollars in Bitcoin left exchanges. We're not seeing much happen with USDT. And so I didn't want to go too much into the Glassnode charts, but the main point is the strongest puzzle piece that we've been monitoring, the S&P 500, has breached above the major resistance, breaking this downtrend, and it's showing signs of life. And so that's what we've been waiting for as the last confirmation. We can even look at international revolving parts like Japan, China, and the Euro 100. All have made significant bottoming patterns already over the last few days. Exactly what we want to see here, with some very nice gains in these traditional markets over the last couple of days. Gold is cooling down. That shows that institutional fear is leaving the market. And then lastly, I'll say this, the VIX has also been cooling down since Jerome Powell's meeting. We want to see volatility come down. And we know as well, it's been calming down every month so far. It's formed these lower highs, which is good. That means that, I don't want to say it's being controlled, but the Feds obviously have some sort of control over the volatility in the markets, it seems like. So the DXY is the other puzzle piece we'll start to monitor, snipers, because here's what I'll say. I know that we predicted this resistance at 99.132. We said if we calm down here, things could look better for Bitcoin. Bitcoin started to move above 35,000, back to the $40,000 range when that happened. And so this is an important area for the DXY. If we see a breakdown, that would be very bullish for assets like the S&P 500. It would be very bullish for Bitcoin. But if we continue to have a cup of coffee here, then there's a scenario where we do see a final push up for the DXY to form this lower high. And we're expecting a lower high because in March of 2020, we got a lower high from the 2016 high. And so if we're assuming, and by the way, this is where the first bull market for Bitcoin started in 2017. This is the second bull market. There have been other bull markets in the past, but these were the two mainstream ones that we could look at just following the DXY chart, which has a lot of price action and market structure between this time range. And so if people are saying that there's going to be that final capitulation move, if we get the rug pulled, right? Let's say the rug gets pulled on us. I think first we'd see the DXY move up. Maybe some sort of news comes in and it attaches a narrative to it. And then we see that final move. And what's interesting about this scenario, and this is actually really important, I should have probably made a whole video about this, is the fact that if the DXY moves up like this, so let's say it consolidates, let's say we go to 44,000 again, we test that for Bitcoin because the DXY is just calm. S&P 500 continues to look like it's trying to recover, and then we see the rug get pulled. If that happens, maybe one strong news catalyst comes in and the DXY pushes up like this to the next resistance, that could certainly cause a capitulation. And that right there would also be a move that the Bitcoin dominance chart could potentially also make. And what's interesting about that is if Bitcoin dominance does that, notice how if we were to look at Bitcoin dominance from 2018, when we moved above the 50-week moving average, which we're currently testing right now here in 2022 for the first time since the start of this bull market. So since we're testing this 50-week moving average, notice how in 2018, when we first came and tested the 50-week moving average, we smashed right through with this upside move. And right, isn't this very similar to what the DXY could do before the DXY finds resistance? But what's interesting is this was a capitulation for Bitcoin. When Bitcoin dominance moved above the 50-week moving average, I think Bitcoin went from a very tight sideways range, 5 to 6,000, 7,000 US dollars, down to 3,400, let's say, which is quite a bit of percentage if we look back at where Bitcoin's price range was. And so this right here was actually a very strong point of entry and a capitulation for Bitcoin to see that $3,000 level on the table. And then from there, Bitcoin dominance even continued further up, but Bitcoin never came back down to that price level ever again. And so if we see, let's say the DXY moves up for that last push, that capitulation move, it would actually be a scenario that has happened in the past where Bitcoin dominance moves to its 200-week moving average, let's say, with that move, and this right here becomes that final push down. So I think it's on the table if we start to see weakness over the next few days. And so that's the clearest point I can give you guys. You know, the S&P 500 makes it look like Bitcoin should already be testing 44,000. And so that's kind of what I'll end the video with. It looks like Bitcoin should be testing 44,000 right now. It's funny because this move happened before the Fed's announcement. And so it happened while we were recording our last video. And so because the move happened before the Fed's announcement, after the Fed's announcement, have we seen it really get priced into Bitcoin yet? If it hasn't, I would say it justifies at least the move to test even prices above the monthly open and really get to that $45,000 level for a real test. And let's say we're seeing strength with S&P 500 from there over the next few days into next week, then why would we take the scenario of Bitcoin moving back to 50 to 60,000 off the table if the S&P 500 starts to calm down, starts to see consistent price action to the upside, and then Bitcoin follows through with its strength that it's been seeing over the last few months. So it's on the table. How does that scenario get off the table? Well, we see the rug get pulled in traditional markets, number one. Let's say DXY pushes up above that resistance. That's another puzzle piece. And really for Bitcoin, the confirmation is at $39,300 level. So thank you all, snipers, for tuning into this channel. I know this was very, very technical, but I wanted to just cover the current revolving parts that are affecting Bitcoin right now, because there have certainly been a lot of things changing in the macro versus the micro. And so it seems like a lot of things in the macro are important that we need to address right now. It seems like a very important time to be on the charts. And with that, thank you all for tuning into the channel. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm if you support this content, snipers. And I'll see you guys later. Enjoy your Thursday. Have an amazing Friday. And we'll be covering the price as always. And until next time, snipers,